Yeah. Today I'm talking with Alex Hobby. He is a podcast host, card game creator, and music producer. Thank you for joining me on the Poly and Content Creator Spotlight.
Well, thank you for having me. Dustin and I go way
It
back.
wasn't all.
We're podcast brothers, and we've been
Yes.
there for each other and helping each other out. So it is my pleasure and honor to be on your show.
Thank you for being one of the first 10 guests on the show, too, no less. It's one of my new ones that I just created where I get to
Ooh.
talk to different creators like yourself. And it's something that I just love talking shop, as you know. It's, yeah.
I'm the same, man. Just chit chat and we connect. We build on our
Yeah.
brotherhood.
Well, and it's funny because I was talking to someone who you knew. I don't remember who it was, but they were telling me how like your voice sounds just like the exact same. Like even when you're on record or recording or not recording, you just have that deep voice, and so you have the podcast voice.
Yeah. So like while I'm off record, my voice is just like this.
Yes,
No, you know what it is? It just puberty hit me really hard. It just got a punch in the throat and just it's stuck.
I don't think puberty ever hit me. Honestly, I still look like I'm like 12,
Yo, you know
12,
what? It doesn't
15.
matter how you sound. Like, hear me out. My voice is so deep and sounds artificial that when I work, I sometimes answer and people think I'm a robot and it's pre-recorded. And they're like, nope. So, yeah.
That's kind of nice,
So,
honestly. Yeah. The way I like to break the ice, although obviously we don't really need to break the ice, is to have you share something about yourself that no one knows about you.
okay. Ooh, something to break the ice, something about me that most people don't know. Do you want a fun fact? Or you know what? No, let's go. Let's
Well,
get deep. I had a near-death experience.
ooh, do tell.
So back in the day, this is probably 10 years ago, I was a captain and a tour guide on a boat in my city. We were showing the Rideau Canal, so I was doing that. And we were on these ferry boats. So they're like, I don't know, like long like this. I don't know, I have a toolbox here. They're long like this. So basically, the captain, so sometimes we switch between I and the captain. So my friend was the captain or my coworker, and I was a tour guide. The tour guide's job at the end of the tour when the boat is coming back is to go to the back of the boat
Mm.
as the boat is pivoting and then jump onto the dock to tie it down. Now, it was a rainy day that day, and luckily, one of my other coworkers was on the dock helping to tie in the front. I just slipped, and I was trying just to not jump off, but just step off to go onto the dock. But I slipped, and I fell backwards, almost smashing my head on the back of the boat. And the boat was coming in between the dock and my head, and I had to swim away because the propellers underneath were going to cut my legs.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I was like calm as a cucumber, just like, okay, I gotta assess the situation, but like going away and I'm fine. So, but that was my, I guess, near death experience.
Jeez. Well, obviously that's very close. It's that's
Yeah,
scary. I
for
actually
multiple
had.
reasons.
Yeah. It. Just to kind of touch on that too, I actually had two near-death experiences at the end of last year, and I don't know if we talked about it much. So I wanted to kind of tell you.
Mhm.
I think we talked a little bit about me being sick last September. I was
Yeah,
sick. I was sick the whole month with Legionella, like Legionnaire's disease, pneumonia, and that was really
jeez.
scary. Got better, but a week into that month, because I was sick the whole month, but a week into it, I go out to karaoke. As you know, I went on your show to
Mhm.
talk about karaoke. Karaoke is one of my main things I do, but I did not want to really go out. I was sick. I didn't
Mhm.
feel good. But it was my friend's birthday, so he kind of drugged me out a little bit to help celebrate for him because he's been there for me. I wanted to be there for him, and I'm sitting there barely functional. You know what I mean? And we're both sitting in the back of the bar, and this never happens at the place that I go to, but essentially, all of a sudden, everybody starts running from the front all the way to the back. And we're like, what's going on? And mind you, I'm not very reactive because I'm still not feeling the greatest. But it turns out someone who was really drunk got kicked out of another bar, came to this one, got denied entry at the door for being too inebriated, and
Mhm.
came back with a loaded automatic AK-47 and
Really?
obviously modified because it's illegal to have a automatic or like automatic version,
So
and
he went back home to get that and then
or maybe from
came?
his car or something like that. I think maybe, and so he
Jeez.
like so the door guy had seen it, locks the door, and everyone runs because he had put it against the window, and everyone's freaking out. And I guess he was dumb because he just like sets the gun down, and so the door guy grabs it and locks the door whenever he wasn't looking, and like saved us obviously at that point. And it was kind of crazy because I guess he just walked away. He eventually got like arrested and
Yeah.
definitely a lot of different charges. But the door guy takes it to the gun to the back, and the cops come takes care of it. But that was a very scary could have been a very close call experience.
Yeah.
So I totally understand when you have a near death experience. It's one of those things where like I was trying to share that fear with you there because it's crazy.
Death Brothers.
Podcast brothers, Death
Yeah,
brothers.
but yeah, exactly. Yeah. Kids, near death experiences are not fun.
Try not to do them.
Yeah.
But well, getting into the content here, or the questions, I guess you
Mhm.
could say, podcasting's your main thing, but I'm sure you have a lot of other stuff going on too. But I wanted to ask you, what got you started as a content creator?
I actually, this is a great question. I've never been asked this question because it doesn't start with my podcast. It actually started back with my music production.
Mm,
And I've always been the type of person that like I like to tinker with things and I like to share ideas. And back in high school, I'd write poetry and stuff like that, and then write songs. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then I decided, oh, what if I just put it on YouTube? I
mm,
had some on SoundCloud, but like this is back in like 20, I even say 2008, 2009 kind of thing. So
really early.
yeah, pretty early for the internet, what we know today. And then I would just like post videos, and they're all still up there.
I
It
was gonna
is
say, like, you should
cringy.
send me that channel.
I will send you. You know what? I'm not ashamed of it. It's part of who I am and how I grew. But it's
Mhm,
cringy, but in a good way. For me, people might just think it's straight up cringy. But for me, it was a way to express myself and sharing my thoughts and my creativity. I didn't care much at the time, like what people thought. Still nowadays, I don't really care what people think, but I just did my music and did it as is. I'm like, I'll post it up there. And it was a way to share because back then there was like, well, for me, I couldn't think of any other way to do it, how to
mhm,
share. I did also do like some short films that I was part of, and I was online. I like doing skits. I like the creation process, and that's what it is for me when it comes to social media. I love creating things, and that's why I have another project right now about the creating idea. I'm trying to create a creator universe.
I like that, especially considering this whole show. Like, I literally
Yeah.
made this show to talk about content
Yeah.
creators, but a whole universe of them. And do you ever think about bringing a lot of that back too? Like, maybe bringing that channel back to life?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
100%. It's something that I feel like it's a muscle. Like if I were to go back to it, it'd take me a while how to redo how to do music and stuff like that. But I want to bring it back. And with the current knowledge and experience I have now, I like to bring those into it and then try to do a different perspective. And I'm the type of musician. I'm not saying that. Oh, I'm the chosen child. Like I'm better than everybody else. But my style of music was like, oh, like one day I feel inspired to do this, and then do a different genre. Like I went hip hop. Then I did like classical scores. I'm like, oh, and I produced the music. Like I like scores and like that. I like a little do 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 do. I don't know what it's called, but I like the sound comes in my head. I'm like, oh, I'm just doing it, and yeah, and I'm sure you go through this as well. Like you're trying to tailor content for your viewers, but at the same time, you want to make content for yourself, something that you enjoy doing. And so that's the struggle when it comes to content creation online, trying to find that balance of like, are you doing this to make you happy? Are you doing this to get views? Where's that thin line in between? So that was something I was trying to struggle with because I'm
Mhm.
sure you've been through this where you created something like you put your heart and soul into it and you're like, this is the best thing I've ever done. And people are like, meh. And then
Eh,
when you do something that's like really like, oh, I'm just gonna, oh yeah, throw it in. I don't care. People are like, oh my God, Dustin, this is the best thing ever. You're a
yeah.
mastermind genius. Like, what?
I saw that a lot on TikTok. A lot of people complained about that, where they'll spend 3 hours on a clip, and it wasn't that like no one got any like didn't get any views, any traction, and then they like make one in 30 seconds, and all of a sudden it goes viral. It's so silly. I've never cared that much about if I like made something and it kind of flops, which is weird because I
Mm,
just kind of felt like I don't know if it's because I'm a small creator. Like most of my channels are relatively small followings at this point in time, and I just figured it's gonna keep growing. Eventually, people will see it. Maybe that's kind of a mentality behind it. But I made a manifesto video, and
mhm,
it was one of the ones I probably put the most heart into, most kind of heartfelt or open, like the most open I've been. But I also kind of made it in the sense like I don't really want to make this public because it's very personal,
mm.
but I'm going to, and so if it doesn't get popular, that's okay. Like, but I definitely understand where you're coming from, and I think that too whenever you do decide to like obviously you got a lot going on right now so you probably don't have the bandwidth to work on that as a musical polymath but bringing that back you'll be able to
Mhm.
really go full into it.
No, I like to keep busy. Honestly, with everything going on in life, it's one of those things after everybody goes to bed, my kids are sleeping. My wife is out she's out for dinner with my sister right now, so they're doing their own
Mm.
thing. And, I'm here creating, talking to one of my podcast brother, but like the creative process has always been in me, and it's a de-stressor at the same time. And if I can make something out of it, hey, I'm happy.
Well, and I remember you've always taken a very systematic approach to content. When I first did your show the first time, so I've been on twice now, I think. The first time I went on, you were trying to batch content. You were trying to get like 100 ahead of time because you were expecting a
Hmm.
child, and so you were trying to like
Yeah.
really get things going on. And you are probably the most extreme batch person I've met, which is saying something because I've met some people who were pretty like, okay, I'm doing like 12 weeks ahead of time. No, you were going like a whole year ahead.
53 weeks.
Yeah.
50. Yeah, yeah, at that time, because back then I was posting every week, and I'm like, all right,
Mhm.
I still want to do it every week. And the problem was having a kid crying. I thought, oh, maybe it's gonna be a little harder because we were living in an apartment at the time where
Mhm.
there wasn't any doors, or there's some doors but open face, and then I didn't want to wake up the kid. But I figured, all right, I got May till August. I'm gonna record 73 episodes, so that's 73 interviews, and then
Jeez.
just edit them throughout the year. So I ended up making enough episodes to last me 13, I think 14 months.
Mm.
But now actually I have batched some more. So I have enough episodes to last me until next year.
Jeez,
So
already?
but no, but now I'm posting once a month. I have to slow down
Oh,
a little bit because I can't do interviews every week, with kids and stuff like that. But and my other project that's keeping me busy. But maybe I'll get back to doing once a week. But for now, once a month, people seem chill with it. They haven't
mhm.
come through my throats. There's no negative reviews saying this guy used to do once a week. Now he's doing once a month. He's lazy.
Yeah.
Like, nah.
I think people overestimate how much people are gonna care like, in that regard. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Especially since like Kirka Scott's a really famous YouTube channel, makes great content. They only post like once a month, but
Hmm.
every time someone sees their content, they go straight to it. They're like, okay, cool,
Hmm.
we know it's gonna be good. Some people post every day. There was times where I post every day for months on end, and there's times where I post maybe once a week. It's one of those things
Hmm.
where as long as you're getting stuff out, I think that's what really matters.
Exactly. And people, we underestimate how reasonable, well, I was going to say humans are. Some humans are unreasonable, but
Yeah.
majority of people who are listening to your content who are, I wouldn't say devoted fans, but like good, like support. Like, yeah, I
Mhm.
love your content. And they understand, like, okay, this is a process of creation. Sometimes the creator needs some time for themselves to reassess, take a break, because they might be going through life. Because off camera, you're human, right?
Mhm.
Like, you take poops. You can, yeah, like that's what humans do. And I didn't make an announcement for myself saying, hey, I have a kid coming. I'm going to be cutting down, or actually, it was my second kid. That's when I started doing once a month. I have a second kid, I want to cut down just once a month for now, but I will get back to it. And I've been consistent ever since. So, but if I take a break, that's cool. That's life. And I think I have 230 episodes. I think people would be okay. Full disclaimer, I'm not stopping yet. You're still getting hobby episodes. You're cool. But if it stops, it's not the end of the world.
Now, there's a few different things I wanted to ask here, and one thing that's kind of like a meta comment on this series is that I've never actually talked to a lot of the content creators who come on this show
Mhm.
about like the specific content why do they make this educational content? Why did they make this content? So why do you make hobby content? I don't know why I haven't asked that question before, but like why do you make specifically hobby?
You're saving it for this day. There are a few reasons. So I decided to make a podcast where I interview people about their hobbies because I have 4 hobbies or so, and then that'd be a very short series. But I decided to do other people because I figured hobbies are an important thing for the individuals.
Mhm.
And I worked with my grandfather. I still work in the family business, but I saw him. He was the type of individual who worked his entire life. And then once he retired, he did not know what to do. He didn't have a hobby. He didn't have any stuff like that, anything like that. So he was at home, just in this like depressive state, which like we go out for lunch and stuff like that, spend time together, but it just ate him alive that he couldn't work anymore and he didn't have anything else he could do. And I realized that hobbies play such a significant role on one's well-being. It's getting better today, but it is still a
Mhm.
stigma of like, oh, hobbies are a waste of time. Especially if you're not making money with your hobby, it's a waste of time. It's like, You
That's
can
not what the
take
point
your
of the hobby
time.
is.
Yeah, exactly. It can be a small hobby. Like basically, you can collect leaves and just, but you pick up a leaf, right, put it in your book and go home, and then you do work and stuff like that. It could be a simple hobby. Another reason is I wanted to make a community or a platform where people can feel welcome sharing their story, because hobbies is
Mm,
one thing that it doesn't matter your social class or where you're from or anything like that. It's basically whatever makes you happy,
yeah.
you're more than welcome to share. So if you like, I don't know, collecting combs, or you like to, I don't know, I'm looking at things on my table, do art for like face masks or anything like that. But basically, I wanted to make a platform where I interview people from all walks of life. So I don't know, people who have listened to my show or not, you might notice that I only go by first name basis. So basically, what happens is that I've had doctors on, but you won't know who that is. But I had doctors and other big people, but I go by first name basis because it doesn't matter who you are, your social status. It just matters you and your connection to your hobby. So when people listen, they're like, okay, I can relate to that person, why they do that hobby. And that's why I also interview people who have similar hobbies as well. Not every episode, but there's some episodes like knitting, for example. So you can be like, oh, I can relate to this person, but I can't relate to this person, but I get it. Like, same
Mm,
hobby, but different reasons. And the last reason is kind of like just a, kind of, well, not but I mean, like for other people, it's but for me, it's like, I wanted to make something for my kids where if something were to happen to me, I pass away early or pass away later on in life, they can listen to the episodes like, hey, that's my dad talking to this person about a hobby that I enjoy. Maybe, I don't know, they will find a hobby. Let's say it's painting. And they listen to me talking to somebody about painting. It's like, oh, cool. I get to listen to my dad one more time, listen, talking to somebody about painting. And it's not necessarily like an egotistical thing to like, oh, yeah, I want to be in their heads all the time. But it's more of a like, I want to be there for them when I'm not there
yeah.
in a way.
Couple follow up things too. Have you thought about doing like a solo cast stuff? You said you only have like 4 hobbies, which are obviously still a lot, but like
Yeah.
having more of your own solo podcast too.
Like just me like talking. I haven't really thought about it because I'm a
You have a lot to offer.
I thank you. That's great. I don't personally think I have a lot to offer because I'm the type of mentality that I know nothing. I'm the type of individual. I don't want to be like that person. Like I know everything. I personally know nothing. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. Heck, take the entire salt and just throw it at me. Like that's the amount of salt you need when you're dealing with me. Um, I maybe would. Yeah, I just did that thing. Um, maybe I would do it. But it'd be more like a not a diary, but like a biography about
Yeah.
myself. And um, so, so when I say that, it sounds like yeah, I'm going to self incriminate myself by doing this.
Well, no, it's like a
No, I don't do
codex.
anything bad. Yeah.
Some people make that in a blog, like where it's like a public
Mhm.
journal, a codex. Because I was talking to someone on the Polycast where they literally have their own codex, and there's actually an author named Derek Sivers who's really cool, and he came up with this idea called a Now page, where every month you
Mhm.
update people who are following you on your personal and professional lives on this Now page. And I loved that idea, and so I started
Hmm.
doing it on my WordPress blog. And what I was doing was replacing the page for a couple months before I realized, no, this would be better for me to do as a blog post series, and that way
Mhm.
people could see the trajectory. If someone who was doing a biography on me, or maybe I was trying to look back on my own memories, or maybe my kids, like you're saying, my kids
Mhm.
want to like see what was I doing at this year. It's kind of like a public journal. And eventually, I actually expanded it to do like a vlog. So on the first of the month, ideally, but within the beginning of the month, I do a blog and vlog what's happening now, and
Mhm.
it's kind of the same idea there, where it's just like just me talking. Here's what's going on. Yeah,
No, that's an idea. Like I haven't really thought of it, but after of the hobbies I do have, I wouldn't mind actually
mm,
doing something like that. It'd be kind of therapeutic for me.
yeah,
And
it definitely.
yeah, no, thank you for bringing up that idea. Now you got me thinking
Yeah.
of other projects to do when I already have a lot of projects. I'm like, ah,
Yeah,
shoot,
no, here's another one.
I got to do it now in a
Well,
positive way.
I I've always been kind of the idea that your podcast is like a YouTube channel where you could have multiple different series on the same thing, but I almost feel like this would be a new stream for you. Maybe not
Hmm.
on time for your hobby, but on a different podcast maybe for you. This case.
Yeah, no, I like that. You know what? I've juggled around with the idea of doing another podcast. Funny fact, I actually had another podcast going at the same time as Time for Your Hobby when it first started, but it just didn't go off. It was a podcast where me and three other friends, we would come to the table, and every week we'd pick two elements to debate. It doesn't mean we were for it or against it. We would just flip a coin. It'd be two polar opposites, and you have to just state your facts why you're for it, even though you could be completely against it. And we would just debate. We were called the Hard Knock Debaters. But yeah, like the debaters of the Hard Knocks. But that didn't work out due to scheduling. But
Mm.
it's something that we still throw around that we might do in the future. But yeah, no, I'd be more than happy to do another podcast as well. Share what I know. And I would always end each episode with take my advice with a grain of salt.
I like that. And on top of that, too, you do seem like the kind of person that would have multiple podcasts.
Yeah, I got the setup. I got
Yeah.
everything. I'm like,
Out of
Alex
curiosity,
likes to talk.
what camera are you using? Because how is your camera better than mine? And I'm a video person.
I am using, geez, I can't even remember. I bought this off of Amazon. It was like here, let's see.
Is it like a C920 or something like that?
The Aki,
Really?
it's something 1080,
Yeah.
1080p. It was like, yeah, something like that. I'll tell
Maybe it's
you
just your
after.
lighting.
Lighting is just like one of those things. If I were to put on the basement lights, I just, you can't see me
Well, that's
anymore.
what's happening right here. Like I have just an overhead light, but I think it might be why we both have a 1080p camera. But given how they're changing the lighting, this kind of meta commentary is kind of one reason I like doing the show too. Like you said, you would talk to me afterwards, but honestly, people come to learn about content creation. They come to
Okay,
watch
yeah,
other
for
content
sure.
creators. So it's kind of the point of the show, to be honest. So it's kind of interesting.
No, I know. Like I'm like, no, I'm gonna tell everybody after off camera.
Secret. Yeah.
So here we can keep the conversation going. I will find the camera, so
Oh,
that
okay.
way,
Well,
that way people can be like, Alex, why didn't you
let's
give
do
me the
it.
camera?
Let's do an
So
easy
what-
question. I feel like
Yes,
this is going
yes.
to be a quick answer while you're doing that. Out of the 3 pillar content, written, audio, and video, what is your favorite to make?
By my voice. Definitely audio.
Yeah,
The reason why I've been like in the audio life for almost like 15 years or so, starting with audio production and stuff like that. And it's just something about it. It's hearing people's voices and figuring out what is the best like tone to use, not tone, but like settings to use, and just hearing the passion, the sadness, the anger in people's voices. To be clear, I don't have angry people come on my podcasts, not by choice, but I mean, like, they're usually happy people. And it's just, there's something about it that just makes me kind of like feel calm. Like I like video as well. I've done video shoots. I've done clips where I like to do skits and stuff like that. But the thing is with audio, I guess my voice is just like, oh, you got to do audio.
It's just
So,
like your natural talent there.
It's talent would be a stretch. It's just like, oh yeah, there's a thing that works for my voice. Yeah, no. And so you said it was video, audio, and what was the third one? I forgot.
It's written, so just like
Oh god.
talks and whatnot. Yeah.
As much as I love writing because I did poetry and stuff like that, I'm dyslexic. So writing is I've gotten better over the years, through school and stuff like that, but writing wasn't necessarily my strongest suit. So that's why I did a lot of oral presentations. I was a tour guide in Canada, a tour guide in France, so doing tours in French. And yeah, just speaking was kind of like my thing. And I like to challenge myself. I like to be dynamic when I speak.
Mhm.
And like you were saying before, Dustin, that I was kind of like this on and off camera. Like that's my
Yeah.
thing. I like being this kind of individual, putting a persona of like, I got to be proper now. This is my proper way of speaking. And then off camera, like, hey, you're like drunk. I'm not drunk. I'm sorry, I'm not putting a drunk persona. I'm just.
Do we need to take shots? Like,
Nah, yeah, no, it's no, audio is definitely my thing because it can be something that you can listen to on the way to work when driving or taking the bus or on a plane, anywhere. It's there. It's weird. You get to, in a way, the way I see audio is that you can just listen to it, but also use your imagination to picture things. Kind of like when you listen to music, I don't know about you, but when I listen to music, and it comes to my music production as well, I visualize like a scene in my head, like
Mhm.
a movie scene. So I like, as I'm composing, I'm like, all right, this is how it's going, and this is how it's going to go. So audio allows me to be creative in my mind to complement what I hear.
I definitely my friend had given me a lot of trouble in the past because he was always telling me how I have to have music as a soundtrack for my life. So I have to have music
Right.
around to like
But like okay, I gotta ask, what is, if you had to choose one song to be your life soundtrack, what would it be?
There's one song by Muse called Survival, and that one in particular comes to mind first. There's also a artist who remixes, not remixes, but remakes Zelda sounds. Rosin is his name, and the song is called "Those Who Hold the Fate of the World in Their Hands" or something like that, or "Those Who Hold the Fate of the World," because it's like a Zelda monumental epic kind of soundtrack. And if those two songs in particular, very kind of epic sounding, those are the ones that come to mind.
No, okay. And if I had to choose mine,
Yes, please.
for now, it would probably be Baby Shark because I listen to it every day. No, I'm
Do,
kidding.
do, 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 do. This will give me a chance to properly ask you too. What
Yeah,
song is your soundtrack or favorite song? This, in this case.
my favorite song. Ooh, it's called Colors by Black Puma.
Okay.
There's something about that song that is very calm and relaxing and just about like bringing people together. So
Hmm.
that would be my song. If you haven't listened to it, look it up. Black Puma.
I'll put some link
Sorry,
in the
not Black Puma.
description.
Black Puma Colors.
Okay. So next question here: what tools do you use for content creation and repurposing?
So, tools for content creation. So let's go with content creation first and then republishing later. Content creation, I use Adobe Audition.
Mhm.
I use Adobe Illustrator for art. I'm teaching myself graphic design. That's how I did the graphic design for my board game. I taught myself. Um, I used to use a program called Cool Edit Pro back in the day. Also use FL Studio for music.
I was gonna ask
For
what DAW
video,
you used. Yeah.
yeah, FL Studio back in the day, and I need to still get back into that. Um, Now, what else? Tools? Are you talking about physical tools or like virtual tools?
Presumably virtual tools, but if you have a physical one that's pretty special too, let me know.
Yeah, I got my hand. No, I'm kidding. So for virtual tools for repurposing, I've used Canva, and I like to. This is before using Adobe Illustrator. I was using Canva a lot because Canva is a great tool to create visuals, and for Canva. For my podcast, you might have seen this a few times when I use a lot. I would create this like kind of like art or graphic of like a phone as if you're looking at an audio player. And then I would bring that to Headliner. I use Headliner a lot to create the little clips. And basically, what I did is combine those two together to create this kind of like phone with movable audio wave and the timer at the bottom. And I
Mhm.
do a little Easter egg that most people won't catch. But at the bottom of each, like it says, like, oh, minute 12 out of minute 57. Well, that minute 12 is exactly that point where I took that clip from.
Mm.
So in the podcast, kind of like a little Easter egg. It's not much. What else I use in terms of repurposing? I used to use IFTTT, if I believe
Mhm.
correctly, in terms of posting it everywhere. Social media aspects, I use X a little bit, TikTok, Facebook, and I want to get back into them. I want to get back into X. I have taken a little break because I've been working a lot on my other project. I kind of go into these phases where I'm like full on like, all right, promote, and then I scale back. I'm like, all right, I got a project I'm going to work on. Let me just work on this, and then when I'm ready, because I've been working on this project for whew,
It's been
since
good enough, right?
2021, so
Okay.
over 2 years, and yeah, no, like I'm dying. Like you
You
have
want to get it done.
no idea. No, I'm dying to share with the podcast community. It's a board game, a podcast board game that I've been working on, and I've been playtesting it, and I pitched it to a publisher, and it's going well, and I know it might get published. So yeah, no, for repurposing. I went a little off topic from your
No, it's good.
question. Yeah, so those are the main ones. But what I love about Dustin, I want everybody to who's listening is that Dustin always shares great tools. He's like, oh, Alex, I found this dope tool. I'm like, oh, it's like AI and it does this, or I found this other one that does that repurposing. Dustin is like the metal detector for fantastic tools.
I keep finding more too. In fact, this poly and content series or this channel came from my idea of the poly and content series that I did before, where I did a video, blog post, and
Mm,
podcast for each episode. And while I ended that series, that model continued on and became this new YouTube channel. And through this second arm of my PolyInnovator stuff, I wanted to create a website called PolyTools, where all the different tools that we can find that I found for like repurposing or creation or whatever, second brain, you could find them all on this site. And so I'm still working on that, but I understand kind of the same way you're thinking about with the board game. Just want to get it out there for the world to see.
but it's like you got to reserve yourself a little bit. You're like, I got
Gotta
to
make sure
work
it's
on
right.
it. But
Yeah, gotta make sure it's good enough.
but yeah, for people who don't know, Dustin and I actually we worked on this website, like on a Google Drive document where we just share a bunch of podcast tools, and I'm super thankful. So Dustin's been like the number one help for that, and I haven't updated it in like
I haven't
forever,
either, to
but
be honest. Yeah.
yeah. But it's like, you know what, it's there and it's helped people. So yeah.
Well, and what I figured from this PolyTools website was that I could have like a podcasting section, and
Yeah,
that we could basically have,
take all the things we found.
yeah.
Yeah, put it all
Well,
there.
and put your name there too. Well, not at the top,
Yeah,
but the thing,
yeah, you don't need to.
but take it with a grain of salt. But no, it's interesting because what all these other tool aggregators are doing is that they're focusing on basically just future tools that I use mainly for like AI for the most part. They have some
Right.
repurposing, but not nearly all of them. Then like Tool Finder by Keep Productive, it's basically just for second brain stuff or note taking. And so all these tools are very niche. Whereas we need like a polymath website with tools. And so here's
Hmm.
all the different tools. Yeah. But yeah, I digress.
No, but I'm super curious about that. Like, how would you organize it? Would you do it by the actual tool? Would you do it alphabetically? Would you do it by the year it released? Or how would you?
I would say categories. So you have the podcasting stuff, you have the second brain stuff, you have the content
Hmm.
repurposing stuff, and I think that's what's really key is that each one of those categories could be its own page, and that way you can
Hmm.
have a wide, vast variety of ones.
And then you have to think like, oh, some services offer two that would fit in
Yeah,
two categories. You put it in both, or you put it in
I would
one.
put
So
it
it's
in
like,
both. Yeah,
yeah, okay, yeah. See, we're brainstorming right now, people.
yeah.
So like, but I'm saying we're brainstorming, but Dustin already has everything brainstormed. I'm just the guy like, oh yeah, let's do this. You're like, yeah, that's like, yeah, I already did that like 4 months ago,
Give
Alex.
yourself some credit, Alex.
Okay,
Uh,
3 months ago.
Next question here: can you share your favorite story that's happened to you as a content creator?
My favorite story. Um, it's one I connect with my guests, and it's it's one guest I had on. She was from, I believe, Switzerland. Sweden, Switzerland. No, Switzerland. And she was listening to my podcast for a long time, and she loved it. And then she was seeing her therapist, and then her therapist, she told her therapist about it. She told the therapist I listened to this podcast, and she was going through some things, and the therapist said, "Why don't you go be a guest on?" Because I invite everybody to be a guest, and she's like, "I don't know." And the therapist is like, "Go step out of your comfort zone," and she ended up being a guest on my show, and she talked about how this was a way for her to express herself and share something about her, and she wouldn't have never done it before, but the fact that she came on to do it, it was like relieving. And once again, the way I'm phrasing it sounds like I am the messiah, like, oh yeah,
No,
I'm
no,
the
no.
chosen one. Okay, so either way, she did that, and it was a way to express herself. And I'm like, oh, I felt cool being like, I'm glad my platform was kind of like a safe space where you can come share your your hobby, your passion without any judgment, in the sense that it is going to help you improve yourself. And I hope, I don't know if it has, but I hope it actually, sorry, it touched other people, in the sense that people who are going through that can feel like that. And yeah, no, that's like one of the deepest ones to me, because at the end of the day, like, a lot of us are hurting. We have a lot of, whether it's anxiety, depression, or a lot of different things that are going through, peer pressure, all this. And to feel that we belong or have a space to share our thoughts without judgment, that's what I want to do. And like, I know eventually I'm going to be irrelevant. I'm, to be clear, I'm not relevant right now, but I will be more irrelevant in the future. But I want like the podcast to last for a long time, in the sense that's why it's just hobbies, which can last many, many years without change. So it can be like one of those things like, oh, cool. Who's Alex? I don't care. That's why I also go by the name of Alex Hobby, because it doesn't matter who I am. I'm not ashamed of my family name. Very happy about it. But there's no need to know who I am to enjoy hobbies. So
Mhm.
yeah, I do this to for the future of humanity. It'd be cool that my podcast can be used as a study later on. I don't know,
Mm,
like like
that'd be
studying
cool.
human behavior and hobbies, But if you don't have to give me credit. I'm not doing this for the credit for my podcast. I'm doing this to my contribution to humanity.
I definitely think that your show could definitely be used in a study like that. I can actually only think of one other show. It's called Hacks and Hobbies podcast, and that's with
Hmm.
Junaid Ahmed. And you and him both would probably get along really well. So I need to connect you guys. But both of your
Yeah.
shows have that same kind of personality when it comes to just hobbies. His kind of also has the hacks part of it, where it's like here's a life hack kind of thing. But
Hmm.
both in the sense of to share your hobbies. And I will say your show is one of the few places on the internet where I've shared my two hobbies. I have shared some videos of me singing at this point, so I kind of went a little out of my comfort zone in that regard. But for the most part, I don't talk about karaoke online. Not really. Like I bring it up as a reference, like I did earlier to you, like oh I do this thing, but I don't talk about it very much. And the first time I was on your show, I talked about my spriting hobby, which is the creation of
Right.
2D assets for video games. I don't talk about that at all. In fact, I have hardly any kind of content on the internet besides my DeviantArt, where I made the sprites and shared what little deviant pieces I have on there. And so it's one of those things where on your show twice now, I've shared part of my life that I haven't shared hardly anywhere else on the internet.
And hopefully I did it in a respectful way. Then, all right, cool, cool. Love. Okay,
Yes.
yeah, and that was kind of like my goal. I wanted to make it a space where people get to share things they don't usually get to share. Because hobbies is one of those things where, like, oh, either people are like, oh, that's cool, or they're like, ew, that's gross, or ew, you do that, and
Well, I don't think people really get that negative about hobbies, but I will say, even on the Polycast, I've
mhm,
considered the people's careers and hobbies to be pretty much equal. Even if their career might be their expertise, their hobby is another area of focus that they've spent time in. Gardening's a hobby that is an area
mhm,
of expertise. And so my point is to highlight multiple areas of expertise. This person is
right,
these four different things. You have gardening, podcasting, and gaming. And then let's say over here you have, I don't know, carpentry. Four different things, but they're all coming together to be you. And that's kind
yeah,
of the point of that
absolutely.
podcast. But the hobby is an important part of that. People don't they see their careers or their area of study for college as the only areas of their life when hobbies are a big part of it too, as you know.
Yeah, you know what? I agree. Like the whole human behavior, like we are a spectrum of like different things. Like you're just as much as your father's kid, as much as your mother's kid. So you're not just one thing, you're multiple things. And I see it a lot more nowadays, but in the past, when they say, what do you do in life? It used to just refer to your career. But now they say, oh, I do this, but I also do this. Like this is my hobby. Like you say, oh yeah, I don't know, I'm a lawyer, but I also do skydiving. So it kind of
Yeah.
adds that dynamic. Like, oh, cool, you do that. Like I have a friend who's a doctor, but she also does pole dancing as her workout. That's she came on my podcast for that. I'm like, oh, cool. Two opposites. Well, no, I was gonna say two opposites.
Opposite.
Well,
But two kind of
they're
opposites in ethos
in
kind of
sense
thing.
of like you can't save lives on a pole, but you well, maybe you could. I don't know. Firefighters with
Don't
pole.
go down that hole. Rabbit hole.
I'm going into like this connection thing. But either way, what I'm saying is that they both have value
Yeah.
and they both help define who the person is. It's not like you just because you're this, you're that kind of person, or
Mhm.
just because you're that kind of person. So, like you say, if you're a doctor, all you can do as a hobby is read books, and if you do pole dancing, all you can do is be a stripper. Like, no, there you can be whatever. You can have multiple things. It's like you're going to a buffet. Fill your plate with whatever makes you happy.
Yeah. And whatever adds contribution to your life. And one
Exactly.
thing you mentioned earlier on is that your hobbies, like some people think, oh, hobbies are not useful because they don't produce money or nothing like that. Hobbies can
Hmm.
lead into side hustles all the time. They don't have to, and you can totally do a hobby just for the sake of doing the hobby. But
Hmm.
sometimes they do lead into side hustles and eventually a career too. Your hobby can become your next career in your life.
Hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's why, like, I have hobbies. I've decided I'm keeping this as a hobby. I'm not turning this into a career or trying to make money from it. But I have another project, which is technically my hobby right now, where I'm like, you know what? My goal for this one is to make money.
Mhm.
And I've set these boundaries in my mind because I figured, okay, this is one that I want to make money with, and these are the ones that I don't want to because in my mind, and there's no bashing. Everybody to each their own. In mine, for my, let's say, for music, I used to produce music for other people and stuff like that, and they're like, "Oh, we'll pay you, we pay you, we'll pay you." But at the time, I was a student at university, and I had my schedule busy, and I knew if I started charging people, I'd have a like a schedule and stuff like that, and it would just disrupt where I would be in my studies. And I figured, you know what, I'm going to do this for just the experience, for the passion. And thankfully, due to this career path I took, led me to where I am with my current project or my career. So it kind of makes me happy that I decided to go this path.
Well, I mean, even little hobbies like my spriting, for example, led me down a graphic design hobby and like kind of
All
expanded
right.
on. And now I use that graphic design skill in my PolyInnovator stuff that I do. But the same thing happened with Microsoft Office. I used to just out of curiosity mess with all the different like documents and slideshows, making videos in Microsoft slideshow. And then on top of that, Microsoft Publisher, making like little menus or
Mhm.
brochures. Those skills led me down to the path where I am now. It was a hobby, but it led to something more productive down the line.
Yeah, exactly. So to be clear, make money with your hobby. Don't make money with your hobby. Make yourself happy. Do whatever you want. And remember, if you're doing content creation, you can do the same. You can make money or not make money. But fighting the algorithm, that is the biggest challenge for everybody.
Yeah. Well, and I want to just chime in here with the idea of Ikigai and what make your reason for being. And your reason for being can be a hobby, it could be your job, it could be your mission. It doesn't really it's all the combination of all those. And finding what that is for you is key. Like your grandfather, he basically had his vocation, but he didn't really have his mission or his particular alignment at that point. His mission,
Mhm.
his vocation didn't align with who he wanted to do in that regard. But I digress.
Yeah.
Content repurposing is where the show
Yeah.
kind of spun off of, and you mentioned earlier how you took like a Canva template and then used a headliner to do the animations for it, and that kind of that's before Opus came around for me to repurpose all these videos. I was actually thinking
Mhm.
about what could I do to make the videos that I want to make for these clips, because all the repurposing tools out there would only make horizontal clips. Like here's you're on the right
Mhm.
side of me, I'm on the left side. That's horizontal. I'd want you to be like one of us to be on top, one of them to be on the bottom to make TikToks, right? In order
Mhm.
for me to do that in the past, all the other tools would basically just only have they wouldn't be able to do that. So I'd have to use a gaming tool to highlight my section, highlight your section, and make it
Mm.
vertical. So I'd have to do kind of what you did to combine two together before Opus just kind of made it easier. My point is though, content repurposing is that way of taking your content a little bit farther. So what is content
Right.
repurposing to you though?
Content repurposing would be to reach audiences that aren't on the platform where you originally posted it.
Mm,
So some people are more comfortable with X in that space, so that you make the contact that would fit that crowd. Some of the people are more comfortable with Facebook, some with Tumblr, some with other platforms, because you're never going to find everybody on all the same platform. So
mhm.
the whole concept of content repurposing is to try to target as many audiences possible. But that's like what I see. The problem is I'm saying like the general, like, yeah, duh, that's the whole point. Try to reach a larger audience. But for me, it's not just copy paste the same thing. Although I kind of do that because I'm not lazy. I just have
There's
just
syndication, which is fine.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of dedication put into it, but yeah, it's trying to accommodate what you're creating for that area. Like, for example, you would not post. I'm trying to figure out two contrasts. Let's say on X, what you would technically post on Instagram.
Mhm.
It might not work. And a good example of this would be like one. What was Instagram's or Facebook's
Reels?
real? No, not reels, but they came out with something recently that kind of looks like Twitter.
Oh,
Threads,
threads.
threads, yeah. So it might have changed now. I haven't gone on it in a while, but you've noticed that threads, a lot of people are approaching it the same way they're approaching Instagram.
Mm,
So the captions don't really match what it is. Well, it doesn't like they just bring the same energy from Instagram, putting it to threads, but threads was supposed to be like a competitor to X. So you had to kind of have to bring in that X like more speaking and more thought provoking conversations. And once again, I'm not bashing anybody on how you use Thread. I'm once again the last person to ask how to use social media. I am a millennial. Apparently, I am dated. We are millennials. We are dated. We are irrelevant. We are no longer lit. We have no Riz. Yeah, check it. I can
Oh,
do
I
these too.
mean,
Oh,
speak
you
for
got Riz. Okay,
yourself.
you
Speak for
got
yourself.
Riz. Okay, you got Riz. Cap. That's no cap. That's no cap. Is it cap or no cap? I
Jeez.
don't know.
It's no
It's
cap.
there's no cap, but
On
there you go.
God.
I'm just I'm gonna let my kids later on teach me the new words. That's the bald man in me.
Well, a lot of people just cringe from that, and I will say I've had a different experience with Threads where I feel like people still approach it like Twitter, but
No,
maybe it's just
really.
like how our algorithms are too. Like everyone might be different, who we follow, that kind
Hmm.
of thing. But also, I do think there's a point of repurposing and syndication, like repurposing your YouTube video into clips. That's repurposing, but taking that same YouTube video and posting it on Facebook videos, for example, is syndicating. And I send all these clips that I make from these different shows onto TikTok, Shorts, Reels, and on Pinterest of all places.
Mm,
And Pinterest gets a ton of traction. But Pinterest, you think, is kind of more like a picture platform. It's almost like an
right.
alternative to Instagram. But they started really doubling down on videos too. And so it's just one of those things where people don't necessarily think about certain platforms that way. I can't wait for the day for me to be able to syndicate to Twitter, X, Threads, maybe Mastodon if I really care enough, but then also to like Blue Sky and all these different tools. I might sign up
Hmm.
for Blue Sky just because if I'm going to syndicate to them, I might as well. There's an app.
Hmm.
I don't want to give this app a shout out because I haven't used it enough yet. In fact, they don't support Threads just yet, despite the fact they said they did. But it's called Yup.io, like YUP, and
Hmm.
it's an app where you can sign into all of them and basically see them all into one feed. And
Oh,
if you
wow.
tweet it, it goes to all of them. And that's one of the only apps I've seen do that. And I actually used to have this Mastodon Twitter cross poster too. So I was
Hmm.
posting to Mastodon for a little while just because I was tweeting a lot.
See, that's what I like as well. The innovation, and there are people more and more these days. They see a problem, like, all right, well, I'm gonna find a solution. It's the same idea where you're talking about the vertical videos for TikTok. So,
Find a solution for it. Yeah.
so I guess my question to you, I know I'm interviewing you now. Yeah, I'm flipping the tables. There's shoe on the other foot. Other idea. What is a current issue with repurposing that you would want but doesn't exist? So for people listening who is high in the repurposing world, like they're really into it, what is something that you can say, hey, this has been a problem I have currently been facing and I would love a solution?
I've been seeing a lot more solutions out there. I feel like I have an answer for this, and it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. Until I can think of it, I will mention this. I'm gonna shout out my homies over at Opus because they're working on a solution for a problem that no one else has. Because all these different repurposing tools have focused on the short form, the 30 to 90 seconds kind of thing. And that's useful. We needed that. I'm glad that we have all these different tools now, all this competition for it. They're actually working on the 10 to 15-minute range too. And I think
Hmm.
that's really interesting because we definitely, a lot of big podcasts will take 10-minute clips of their show and put it on a clips channel or put it on their main channel as a separate video. And that's something that's super helpful and I think will help people grow, but there's no repurposing tools that can do that yet, really.
Hmm.
And sure, you might be able to make your own clips with like Recast maybe or Shopcast, but I don't think they would do it automatically like what Opus is saying. As repurposing person, there is something I cannot think of it off the top of my head, but yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, we're gonna save that for later. Yeah.
If I think of it at the end of the call, we'll get a separate video for it, something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
there you go.
So, what do you have coming down the line that you're looking forward to?
So what I have coming down the line is my board game that I been working on for a while. I can't share too much about it, but it's pretty fun. I don't know. Just one guy who's saying I don't know. So
I mean, from
that's
what you've told me, it seems really interesting too.
yeah, no. And during that, I wanted to self publish, so I was thinking all the marketing aspect and stuff like that. And then as I was like thinking about, oh well, you know what, self publishing might not be the best path for me right now, so I'm going to pitch it to a publisher. But I still had that mentality of like, all right, if I'm in the shoes of a publisher, what would I need, or how would I repurpose the content? How would I create content, stuff like that? So I have been creating things that have not necessarily been done before, and I'm like, all right, this is going to be a challenge, but it might put a little spin on it. So and just recently I had another marketing idea that I don't want to reveal just yet, but I think it adds on to the creativity, and not
Right.
just me, the creativity of the buyer. Ooh, what is it? I don't know.
Well, you could be a little bit secretive now. Hopefully, maybe we'll have you back on or something like that. We can talk
Yeah,
more
yeah.
once you're ready to talk about all that. So, where can people find you online if they want to learn more or keep an eye out for your new projects that are coming?
Yeah. So I am on this X. I am on X. I am TFYH podcast. I am on Instagram. Time for your hobby. I am on the emails.
Mm.
Yes, as an old person, I say the emails.
You're an
Uh,
older millennial. I'm a younger
yeah.
millennial.
Well, hold on there. You hold your horses. I am 32. So
I'm 28.
uh,
Boom.
okay, I'm an older millennial. I'm not. I'm like in the middle. Okay, like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think. Yeah. Okay.
I'm on the
The
edge,
bald,
so I get it.
the,
Yeah.
the, the bald head is just throwing it up. I'm like late
Mine's
boomer.
receding, so I get it. But I
See, yeah,
digress.
join me, man. Join me, man.
One of these days.
Yeah, email timeforyourhobby@gmail.com. But yeah, those are the best places to reach me. And yeah, I post my podcast once a month, and anybody's welcome to be a guest on my show. I'm more than happy to talk about your hobby.
Well, I have some links for you in the description there for you, like the Wix site and the link tree and the socials, all that jazz. But once again, this is Alex Hobby and Dustin PolyInnovator on the Poly Content Creator Spotlight. Thank you for being here.
Peace. I want to show
What?
something. My wife got me these for Christmas.
I was like, what kind of pants are those? I saw you running off. I was like,
It's podcast. It says
oh,
podcast on it.
nice.
These are podcast pajamas.
I'll have to
'Cause I'm
put this
cool
at
like
the
that.
end of the video. Just like